Let the roast begin. Hello everybody. Today we are finally doing our annual webcomic roast. The first comic today I would like to talk about is the Ultimate Fanfic by Tor Store Art. And it's romance and slice of life. Your thumbnail is really good, although usually romance genre type thumbnails you would find the protagonist and either the female lead or the male lead. Nothing wrong with having a solo thumbnail, but usually if you already have the male lead nailed down, it's better for readers who can instantly see from the thumbnail what kind of couple they're getting into, you know? Now let's get into your introduction. Your intro is not bad. There is, however, a lot of info in there. So if I were to rewrite your intro, Rachel is your typical rich, beautiful girl who has had everything handed to her, but reality came crashing down for her when her favorite mangaka said her fan fiction sucked. Something like that. We don't mention John Luke. That's for the readers to find out in the comic. We see Rachel's shoes walking and people talking about Rachel, and then who the hell is this dude? I think it would be better if you made the intro about Rachel only. She's rich, right? You could show her looking prestigious, coming out from a prestigious house. I think this is Rachel's parents, which is nice, you know. It's like you can feel the hatred toward the family, like being born in rich. And she bumps into this girl who's like apologizing for bumping into her, and then we get to see the first panel of Rachel, which is, by the way, done really nice. In this manga-con, basically, we get to see Rachel in another light, and she's about to get critiques from her favorite mangaka about her fan fiction. The mangaka straight up destroys her fanfic by saying it just sucks. As she's about to leave the convention heartbroken, she ties her shoelaces and someone bumps into her. She drops her glasses.
Bombastic side eye.
This boy recognizes her from school. And that is pretty much the prologue. Nice title card as well, by the way, at the end. I really like. Art-wise, it's not bad. You have your own art style, which is mixed anime. You got nice expressions, and the anatomy is fine as long as I can understand what they are doing. I do feel that if you want to elevate your art, this includes the background and the character movements. I would suggest looking up references for things you struggle to draw. For example, buildings, the convention that has a lot of people, crowds. The characters, if you struggle with certain poses, you can even have 3D poses to help you. 3D backgrounds also go a long way. To be honest, I'm much more interested in the relationship between her and the father, more than this dude that she met at the manga con. Something about rich and prestigious family. I'm always more interested in like the hierarchy in the family's situations and whatnot. But yeah, otherwise, good luck on your comic, and let's move on to the next one. The next comic I'm going to talk about is Yasmin Leave Me Alone by Sarah Comics, and it's also a slice of life / romance comic. Thumbnail is good. It really portrays the character and the art style well, so I think you did a good job on the thumbnail. I understand you have many languages for this comic, and you put like the language of the flag, which is really nice. What a lot of people can learn from you. Your comic doesn't always just have to be in English. Sometimes having your comic in different other languages, you may attract different kinds of audiences, and you might accidentally blow up in another language. I don't see why not. So if you have the means to have your comics translated, you should definitely invest in that. Your intro is short and simple. Although your title is about Yasmin, I got confused who Isadora is. I think having a double person thumbnail would be helpful. Even though it's slice of life, you still need a hook to your story, and I'm kind of not seeing that. If I were to add a hook for your story, it would be, Isadora runs into her nosy classmate Yasmin every day, and funny situations occur. Also, probably potential romance. In the prologue, we meet Isadora walking home from class. Isadora is a loner by nature, so she is always happy when Yasmin has to run away doing something. I like that she has this quick thought to herself. I wonder if I'm too rude sometimes, which helps me believe that she does care about Yasmin. Yasmin and Isadora meet again in this scene where Isadora is playing the guitar. I felt this scene was a little bit unnecessary, but I'm holding it off because it makes sense later on. She meets Yasmin again, who is playing arcade with friends, and I am forced to meet the friends. I feel like Isadora in this situation. I do not care about the new people. The friends just ask a shit ton of questions to her and adds nothing to the story other than being annoying. And finally, the friends leave. They walk home together and they talk a little bit about how the guitar was Isadora's grandpa's guitar. And I kind of wish you pushed this little moment they have talking about the guitar towards back up front to that scenario when she scared her and she was playing on her guitar. I just felt it would have made sense if these two scenarios were linked together. We also find out that Yasmin can sing, actually. Yasmin has a brother that can play a keyboard, which is insinuating something, right? There could be a potential band together moment, which honestly is a really, really good hook to the story. Besides the hook that they could be potential lovers, I don't see why you can add a hook of them potentially being bandmates. I think that is much more interesting than just two people falling in love. I would like to see them try to make music, make a band together, go on like band journeys. It's a really good prologue, although I'm left feeling why Yasmin is always leaving the scene before we get any real exposition. Art-wise, I think you did an incredible job. I think the use of textures are great. It definitely fits the cute art style you have. Usually with traditional comics, they suffer a bit of a paneling clutter. But I like that you make an effort in your comic to make spaces and breathing points so everything doesn't look like they're stick together. Also, in some scenarios where you would draw backgrounds by yourself, and in some scenarios you add photo filtered manga backgrounds. I think that's really smart. In conclusion, you've done really well on your art, but now you need to focus on your stories and what elements you can add to your story to keep your readers interested. And I look forward, honestly, to your comic. Next, I want to move on to a comic called Krank im Kopf. I think that's how you say it in German. It's by Open Cop, and it's an action comedy genre. Your title card is taking up 70% of the thumbnail. You can, just like all the other comics, just leave it in the comics, and your thumbnail can just be a straight up big ass version of your characters. And bro, I'm not even gonna ask what the hell is that, so let's just move on. Your intro is kind of long, I'm not gonna lie. And I think it would be better if you just have the highlights of the story, and how I would write it would be something like this instead. Chili and algae and many others got infected with one of the most dangerous viruses ever. And in this comic, they try to save themselves from the world of sick foes. That's pretty much it. The reason I took out the alien to angel power lore is just that it's just too confusing to write it all out in the intro, and I would rather read about it in the comic instead. I'm just gonna stick to what I think is the prologue. This huge monster fighting, I think this is Chili. And she talks about herself. The truth is, I am super sick. I am infected since I was very young. And there isn't much information about her sickness other than it is deadly on Earth. One day, an alien kidnaps her. These aliens are named angels, and I'm pretty sure they gave me the disease. After some talking with the kidnapping angel, I gained the ability to fly. I learned that beating these angels give me their powers, and I'm sure that after dealing with their boss, I will be completely healed. Now, back to the present. With this, I should finally be able to stop the spreading of my disease. She takes the injection. Oh, I can feel it finally. After all these years, I can finally go back to Earth. This is gonna be great. And I'm gonna have to stop you right here. In a webtoon format prologue, your prologue would be better if it ended on "this is gonna be great," basically before she heads back to Earth, because you are now about to introduce a whole other setup before I was able to digest what I just read. I'm just gonna talk about the art and the paneling really quick. I'm gonna have to make comparison. This is the only way I can help you understand, I feel. As we can see from our previous comic by Sarah, although it is also on the traditional comic format, it is just not as cluttered. There is a lot of breathing space, there is a lot of paneling done. Reading your comic does feel overwhelming. Art-wise, it's cute. I like it. If you're planning to go all the way black and white, there needs to be some sort of contrasting. Your eyes will immediately focus on the most contrasting part of the comic, basically the characters away from the backgrounds, because this gives our eyes space to breathe. In your comic, everything is either white or gray or dark gray, and this can be very hard for the eyes to focus on one thing at a time. I would just make the hair, her hair, that's black, right? Just make it all black. Even scenes where there is this boss that's supposedly glowing, black out the background and just leave the white on the character and the boss. Now that we have talked about the art style, there is a lot to digest in the prologue. And this is after I cut to the point before she heads back to Earth. Okay, first of all, you have a lot of setups. The first setup is Shili's lore is very complicated. She was sick and she lived in a box to stop her disease from spreading. One day, the second setup, one day aliens took her. We don't know why. Third setup, why are the aliens named Angel? Did she name them herself angels because the aliens gave her powers? Who named them angels? The fourth setup, why are you beating these angels that give you these powers when I feel like they sort of helped you? All of these setups went through my brain before we even landed on the 5th page of the comic. Other than some serious pacing problems in your comic, it's actually really unique. And later on we meet the other character called LG, and he's actually a very interesting character, but that's for you guys to find out. In conclusion, I had a lot of submissions, okay? And to be honest, half the time, I do not know what the hell is going on. Like, what is this comic, bro? What are these proportions, bro? And I also had submissions that, although they do not have many subscribers, the art and whatever the story they're gonna get into looks amazing. And honestly, you just need to keep expanding, because I am unable to critique based on the prologue when nothing much is being said about the prologue more than an aesthetic showcase of the art. Now, there are also some comics that are comedy based, and honestly, your comics don't need any critiques, just like the aesthetic ones. Your audience will eventually come as long as you keep posting. There are also a lot of them that are on hiatus. And I get it, life happens, and I don't do this video often. It's also hard for me to want to talk about your comic when you pretty much stopped since last year, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna see an ending for it. Like Curses and Blessings, I found this comic in the submissions. A really top-notch comic, great art style, great pacing, and unfortunately it only has one episode. But creator, if you do decide to come back, just know I will be here to read it. In the future, I am probably gonna do something a little different in the next few roses. I'm hoping I can get a panel of judges on livestream, preferably people who have worked on comics. Not only will you get more feedbacks from different perspectives of other webcomic creators, you also get to see it live. and I think that's very interesting. So if you're interested in the next round of roasting, where it will potentially be a live stream, feel free to submit it in the Google Docs again. We will look through it, and when it's happening, you will be notified on my Instagram stories or YouTube posts when we're gonna go live. But that's pretty much it for this video. I have comics if you would like to check it out, and I also have coffee if you would like to make a one-time support, one-time donation. I also have a shop on Coffee if you would like to get brushes and stuff. Finally, I want to thank my patrons for the support, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.